welcome! This is going to be probably a pretty short video because I don't have that many books. I have a lot of books by a lot of people's standards, but if you've been on my channel for a long time, you know I had over 400 books on my shelves. At first, I thought that I didn't want to do a bookshelf tour until I got back to that point, and then I realized at some point that that just seems incredibly silly, and I might never get to that point. I don't even know if I want to get to that point again, because since living in Japan, I've really scaled down. I only brought my absolute favorite books with me, and then when I started to rebuild my library, I had to be much more choosy with the books that I was putting into my physical library versus audibly or through the Libby app. I just became a little more conscious of what was going onto my shelves. So now I feel like the books on my shelves are not just books I've read, but books that I loved and I would recommend or I'm very excited to read. And I'm really happy with where my books are, despite it not being very many of them. As well as I noticed, I also often go back to my own bookshelf tours because those are my books and I miss them. They're at my grandma's house packed up, so I'm gonna do a bookshelf tour. It'll be cool to look back at this later and see where my bookshelves have ended up, whether they get larger or smaller or stay relatively the same size. I feel really happy with where my bookshelves are at. I will be doing just more of an inventory checklist, but I will stop and pause and talk about a certain book if I think it's special, or if it's a special edition, or if it has any other extra information attached. With that out of the way, welcome to my bookshelf tour. Let's go ahead and get started with my desk space. On my desk space, I have Daughter of the Moon Goddess by Su Lin Tan, Six Crimson Cranes by Elizabeth Lim, We Hunt the Flame by Hafsa Faisal, The Beast Player and the Beast Warrior by Nohoko Uehashi, and the first edition hardcover and paperback of The Solstice Court by Jade Juniper, which is me, so can't say that with a straight face. The Song of the Lioness Quartet by Tamara Pierce, including Alana, the First Adventure, In the Hand of the Goddess, The Woman Who Rides Like a Man, and Lioness Rampant. These are also my additions from childhood, so they're not in excellent condition, but they are my favorite covers, and I would never let these go, so I've never bothered to get new editions. Lewis Carroll's Alice's Adventures in Wonderland. This is the Collins collection, and it's just a small little paperback that I found secondhand. And these aren't books, but they are all of my notes, memos, to-do lists, and small journal entries that I've had over the years, and I keep them because it's pretty much a compact list of all of my ideas and accomplishments, so that's kind of nice to have at your writing desk. A newcomer journal that my friend made for me. She painted this image of Kezara, my main character from my book, onto a journal that I'm definitely going to be using for book 3, so I have it there for a bit of inspiration and just because it's absolutely gorgeous. Special shout out to the acorns on my desk for all of the words I wrote in November when I was doing the November writing challenge. Due to weird camera angles, I'm going to actually bring down the books from my corner shelves because the rest of the shelves just have my Japanese textbooks, some like memorabilia, photo books, magic and herb books that I don't really want to share on my channel, and then the two top shelves are books that are like actively part of my bookshelf. We'll start at the top and work our way down. A bookshelf tour of mine would not be complete without Nevermore, The Trials of Morgan Crow, Wondersmith, The Calling of Morgan Crow, and Hollowpox, The Hunt for Morgan Crow by Jessica Townsend. After that is my top shelf, which includes This Is How You Lose the Time War by Max Gladstone, the teeny tiny novella The Slow Regard of Silent Things by Patrick Rothfuss. This is the illustrated edition from his main novel, The Name of the Wind. It has absolutely gorgeous illustrations and follows Ori, which is a character within the main novel. Then we have Braiding Sweetgrass by Robin Wall Kimmerer, and this was actually gifted to me by a new friend I made over this autumn. We actually exchanged books, so I gave him To Shape a Dragon's Breath and he gave me Braiding Sweetgrass. I haven't read it yet, but I definitely definitely intend to. House of Leaves by Mark Z. Danielewski. Yes, I have read this. I have an entire vlog dedicated to it. I'll put it up above, down below. It's on my shelves. Empire of the Vampire by J. Kristoff. I have actually yet to read a J. Kristoff book, but this one had illustrations and seemed pretty hardcore, and I've been a little bit in a vampire mood lately, so. The Sisters of the Winter Wood. This is by Rena Rosner. The next shelves I'm gonna cover are the top of my bookshelves because I do have quite a few books here as well. Removing the Dragon Egg, we have these books here. Circe by Madeline Miller, The Mists of Avalon, The Lady of Avalon, Priestess of Avalon, and The Forest House. All by Marion Zimmer Bradley, who is an absolutely atrocious person, but also dead, and I bought these secondhand. Then I have Juniper, Wise Child, and Coleman by Monica Furlong. These are, again, my copies from childhood, so they smell really great and are in poor condition. And then finally on the shelf is Queen of Camelot by Nancy Mackenzie. This is actually an omnibus of a duology following Guinevere, which is the Child Queen and the High Queen. Then over to the left of my projector is by J.R.R. Tolkien. We have The Hobbit, or There and Back Again, The Fellowship of the Ring, The Two Towers, and The Return of the King. On my graphic novel shelf, I have the entirety of the Saga series by Brian K. Vaughan and Fiona Staples, which actually have fairly spoilery covers, so I'm just gonna leave it there. The first 5 volumes of Dragon Ball by Akira Toriyama in Japanese. So here's volume 1, 2, 3, and 4, and finally 5. I recently finished volume 1 in Japanese, and I'll go ahead and link a vlog up above and down below in case you're interested at all in my Japanese ability, because it's not great, but it's kind of fun to watch. Then for some miscellaneous Japanese, I have The House Husband Volume 1 by Kosuke Ono and Sakuran by Moyoko Ano. This is actually an out-of-print edition and it's absolutely gorgeous and also includes some colorful pages. I also have The Japanese Mind, Understanding Contemporary Japanese Culture, which I think is a pretty useful read if you plan on living in Japan or even visiting. It's not comprehensive, but it definitely gives you a start. Then I've had a bit of a dragon book collection started, and that includes Anne McCaffrey's Dragon Harper, which also states that it's by Todd McCaffrey. I haven't read any of these books, so I just picked this one up on a whim because it looked interesting, and English books in Japan are pretty limited. Then I have the first 4 books of Earthsea, which is a series I'm really interested in, but I haven't yet read. Seraphina by Rachel Hartman, When Women Were Dragons by Kelly Barnhill, The Girl Who Drank the Moon by Kelly Barnhill, and this isn't a dragon book, I just didn't know where to put it, The Wolf and the Whale by Jordana Max Brodsky. And then the final book on this shelf is L.R. Lom's Dragonfall. I'm not cutting that because that dragon literally just fell. The decorations on this shelf include some sensu beans that my friends got me for my birthday. There's actual beans inside. This is merchandise from Dragon Ball and Dragon Ball Z. This random gacha that my friend won, they're just like little toys that you can get for like 100 to 300 yen. Another gacha, which is just a really old phone booth that we still have actively in Japan here. A Dragon Ball, and an origami dragon that one of my students made me. On this shelf we have Nevernight, Book 1 by J. Kristoff, Mr. Magic by Kirsten White, Dreams Lie Beneath by Rebecca Ross, The Cemetery Boys by Aidan Thomas, Mr. Impossible, Book 1 in the Dreamer Trilogy by Maggie Stiefvater. This is actually a special edition, specifically owl crate, so the original cover looks like this, and inside it is signed by the author. The Poet X by Elizabeth Acevedo, With the Fire on High by Elizabeth Acevedo, Mexican Gothic by Sylvia Morena Garcia, The Thursday Murder Club by Richard Osman, Bunny by Mona Awad. This was actually as absolutely wild as everyone said it was, so that was both pleasing and surprising. Such Sharp Teeth by Rachel Harrison. The Female of the Species by Mindy McGinnis. Gods of Jaden's Shadow by Sylvia Morena Garcia. Beartown by Frederick Bachman. This book absolutely wrecked me. Bookshops and Bone Dust by Travis Baldry. Rock, Paper, Scissors by Alice Feeney. A Far Wilder Magic by Alison Saft. A Spell of Winter by Helen Dunmore. I got this secondhand at a store here in Japan, and I don't know actually what it's about or what it is. From that same secondhand shop, I got Golden Sun by Pierce Brown. This is the second in this trilogy, and I have little to no idea what it's actually about, but I need to get the first one in order to start. Oof, and then finally, I am a bad person, The Earthsea Quartet by Ursula Le Guin, and this is a library book from a long time ago that I have yet to return, but still will, eventually, at some point. And that is the end of my bottom shelves. On my middle shelves, I have the Crown of Feathers series, Crown of Feathers, Wings of Shadow, Heart of Flames by Nikki Palparetto. These are the Alcrate editions, so they have a different color scheme. Here's the original, as well as purple pages, dark purple, kind of bluish pages, and teal pages. Then this is the anniversary edition of The Name of the Wind by Patrick Rothfuss. This features blood red pages and an alternate cover from what I usually see. And the inside also has a letter that I don't believe is in the original, but I could be very wrong. Fable by R.F. Kuang. The next set are all Illumicrate editions featuring sprayed pages. So first we have This Woven Kingdom by Tahara Mafi with absolutely stunning pages and inside end pages. Goddess of the River by Vaishnavi Patel with, again, gorgeous pages and inside artwork. Starling House by Alex E. Harrow. This has a clear slip cover and a slightly foiled naked hardback. Here are the sprayed edges and the end pages. Both This Woven Kingdom and Goddess of the River are signed. Starling House is not signed by the author. God Killer by Hannah Kaner. Here are the sprayed edges. The naked hardcover, which is actually one of my absolute favorites. The inside with foiling, also signed by the author. Sunbringer by Hannah Kaner. This next one, Sunbringer, is actually not an Illumicrate edition. I got this from Waterstones in order to have a matching sprayed edge setup, but I'm not really impressed with the sprayed edge. I don't even really understand what it is, but here's the back, and inside it does make up for it with gorgeous end pages, which are the same on both sides. Hellbent by Lee Bardugo. I am missing Ninth House because it's at my grandma's house and we accidentally sent the wrong one first. Tomorrow and Tomorrow and Tomorrow by Gabrielle Zevin. Little Thieves by Margaret Owen, and The Shadow of the Gods by John Gwynne. That finishes up this half of the shelves. Let's move over to the second half. To start us off, we have An Education in Malice by S.T. Gibson. Redemptor by Jordan Ofueko. Raybear by Jordan Ofueko is also a book I have on my shelves, but my friend is borrowing it and absolutely loving it, so I'm not going to begrudge them ruining my shelf tour a bit. Daughters of Henri by Rennie K. Omayo. The Drowned Wood by Emily Lloyd Jones. This is also an Illumicrate edition and has sprayed edges, but I thought they were ugly, so I didn't put the sprayed edges forward. This is the naked cover and the inside of the dust jacket. Also signed by the author. Rouge by Mona Awad. Lovely War by Julie Berry. A Darker Shade of Magic and A Gathering of Shadows by V.E. Schwab. These are the exclusive collector's editions, and I'm kind of obsessed with them, so I haven't gotten the third one because they're expensive. Inside this one has this on the hardcover and then some end paper art, which is different on both sides. Here's book 2. Then we have Daughter of the Pirate King and Daughter of the Siren Queen by Tricia Levenseller. The Hedge Witch of Fox Hall. Gallant by V.E. Schwab. This is also an Illumicrate edition and has very gorgeously sprayed edges and inside end pages. The same on both sides. The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue by V.E. Schwab. This is the illustrated anniversary edition with sprayed edges, character art on the end pages. Here's the naked hardcover. As it is the illustrated edition, there are illustrations throughout. Last I checked, this is actually still purchasable online. I've seen it around. Not too bad of a price, so if you're interested, hopefully you can find it. And then I also have Radio Silence by Alice Osman. I just realized I lied to you. This is a series by Amy Kaufman and Jay Kristoff, so I have indeed read a Jay Kristoff book. I just didn't realize it. This is Illuminate, Gemina, and Obsidio, which are all part of the sci-fi Illuminate trilogy. And when you remove the dust jacket, this is what it looks like. I don't have much decoration on this shelf, but I do have BB-8. This is a remote control version, and Gengar, which also houses books from a promise jar when I was trying to complete books that others had recommended me. I just am really slow going at that. I just have this as a memorabilia for all of the wonderful books I've been recommended and will eventually read. Moving on to the beginning of my favorite shelves, we have Six of Crows and Crooked Kingdom by Leigh Bardugo, King of Scars by Leigh Bardugo, Strange the Dreamer and Muse of Nightmares by Laini Taylor. These are the ultra special editions. I will put the name of these editions up, but they were really limited. This is the front of Strange the Dreamer, and this is the back. Strange the Dreamer has silver metallic pages, end page art on either side. They are both signed by the author, and they are also annotated by the author. So Laini Taylor went through and annotated these books to completion, and I'm absolutely in love with them. So this is Strange the Dreamer, this is the front of Muse of Nightmares, and this is the back. Muse of Nightmares also has a metallic sheen. The artwork is different on either side. It's of course also signed with annotations, and it also came with special artwork. So we have this piece of art, this cute little character card, and then this work of art which I actually have on the top of my bookshelves. It also came in an exclusive box set that says Tales from the Unseen City and Miracles for Breakfast, which is a reference to one of the storybooks within the book. These are one of my most prized bookish possessions, so they are always prominently displayed on my shelves. Moving on, we have Juniper and Thorn by Ava Reed, The Wolf and the Woodsman by Ava Reed, and A Study in Drowning, Wouldn't You Guess It by Ava Reed. This version of Study in Drowning is actually the Illumicrate exclusive and has these sprayed edges, as well as artwork inside and signed by the author. Then I have In an Absent Dream by Shauna McGuire. I do plan on collecting this entire series, but they are so tiny and so expensive that it's very slow going, and I just picked up my favorite one first. Then I have 3 novellas by T. Kingfisher, Nettle and Bone, What Moves the Dead, and A House with Good Bones. And finally, A Sorceress Comes to Call by T. Kingfisher, which I have preemptively put on my favorite shelf simply because it's a T. Kingfisher book. We have now reached my final shelf. First up are my special editions of the Scythe series by Neil Schusterman, which includes Scythe, Thunderhead, and The Toll. Here are the sprayed edges. Here's the naked hardcover and the end page art, which is different on both sides. These are also hand-signed by the author. Thunderhead having all of the same features, the end page art, here's the naked hardcover, and the reversible dust jacket. Then finally we have The Toll. Here's the naked hardcover, the end page art, and the reversible dust jacket. These editions are by Fairy Loot. Then I have Emily Wilde's Map to the Otherlands by Heather Fawcett. It does drive me absolutely mad that this is the second in the series, but I am only collecting these editions, so again, it's slow moving. Gideon the Ninth, Harrow the Ninth, and Nona the Ninth by Tamsin Muir are books you'd be hard-pressed not to find in one of my videos, but I'm sure there's a few scattered in between. The Rage of Dragons and Fires of Vengeance by Evan Winter, and the entirety of the Raven Cycle series by Maggie Stiefvater, including The Raven Boys, The Dream Thieves, Blue Lily Lily Blue, and The Raven King. These are my original editions that my partner bought for me when I was having an incredibly hard time, and definitely the books I would attribute to getting me back into reading, as well as adjusting to a really hard time in my life. After that is The Scorpio Races, also by Maggie Stiefvater, which is a standalone not associated with the Raven Cycle, but still really good. And last but certainly by no means least is the finished edition of The Solstice Court by Jade Juniper. For full disclosure, that is indeed me, and this edition has the tower fully centered, which I had to do myself, a quote on the back, a finished map of the Thrice Kingdoms, a Will of the Year, including holidays, seasons, and events within Thrice Kingdom universe, content warnings, because I think they're incredibly important, a compendium, and a cozy political coming-of-age story that delves into topics around found family, magic and souls, forbidden love, slow burn, of course, neutrality and its consequences, warring kingdoms, and queer platonic love, all set in a queer normative world, so there's that plug. Okay, well, that took an absolute nightmare amount of time to film, and I can only imagine how much shorter it will be when it's finished, so hopefully I made it short enough. Thank you so much for watching. Let me know if you saw any books on my shelves that caught your interest or that you've read before. There's quite a few on my shelves that I actually haven't read yet. I'm going to do the Try a Chapter Challenge, where I actually read all of the first chapters of the books I haven't read yet to get a better idea of the books that are on my shelves. But if you saw any books on my shelves that you really enjoyed, go ahead and leave comments down below. If you can't be bothered, go go ahead and leave the bunny emoji because I absolutely love rabbits and I haven't done that emoji before on my channel. Whether you do or not, I hope you are enjoying the sun or more stars wherever you are, and until next time, bye!